Welcome back, everyone, to the Queen of TV channel. Now, some quick things before we get into our intro. Firstly, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and please watch the video to the very end. Second, there will be cursing and profanity. If that's not your cup of tea, this channel is not for you. Third, I will be giving my honest opinion about the episode and the show as a whole. And lastly, guys, I started working on August 25th at my new job. So posting is going to be different. And I will make a community post explaining all of that. Now, let's get into our intro. Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, the Queen herself, and you are the Prince of Princesses. You're either a subscriber or you are a viewer. Either way, welcome. Today we'll be talking about H2O Season 2 Episode 13, Moonwalker. We start the episode at Cleo's house, who is just waking up to the musty smell of her father's tent as he is preparing for their annual family camping trip. Cleo and Kim are not excited about it at all, and Cleo reminds her dad that he was the only one that enjoyed it while everybody else had to deal with tin spaghetti, tents, mosquitoes. They hated it, and neither one or two of them want to go, but their dad's not letting them get out of it. So Cleo asks where they will be camping. They are going to go camping on Mako Island. Cleo is obviously freaked out. She tells Emma and Ricky, and they both say that this is a catastrophe. And Ricky asks Cleo if she could just tell her dad that she was sick. Cleo said that there's no point of backing out now. It's too late to back out of it. And also, her dad would tell her that the fresh air will do her good. This is when Lewis shows up and tells them that he has bought them non-seeing glasses where they can't see the light of the full moon because they're very dark. And on top of that, Lewis is ready for the boarding up of the full moon, except the girls bust his bubble by telling him that Cleo's family is going on a camping trip on Mako Island. Lewis obviously, of course, freaks out and says that she can't go, but there's nothing that Cleo can do about it. Emma decides that all three of the girls should be there, so that way Cleo doesn't have to go on her own. Lewis says there's no way that can actually work because all three of them put together on the full moon means crazy stuff starts to happen. Ricky tells Lewis that they're big girls and she's in. So Cleo lets her dad knows about Emma and Ricky also coming. He says it's supposed to be like a family camping trip, but she said that Ricky and Emma are like her sisters. Kim makes a snide comment saying that they can have her, and her dad is reluctant, but he decides to let them go. This is when we see Lewis show up, and he has all his camping gear, saying that he's going on a camping trip. Cleo's dad rightfully says that no one said that Lewis was coming, but Lewis has invited himself, and he's also made a game plan. Kim sleeps in her own tent. Emma, Cleo, and Ricky sleep in theirs, and Dom and Lewis can bunk together. Kim thinks it's a good idea, and Dom, obviously still hesitant, decides, okay, fine, Lewis can come too. Cleo pulls Lewis to the side, and Cleo asks Lewis what is he doing. Lewis says that they need him. Dependency problem. So there's nothing that Cleo can do about it. We find out that Charlotte and Lewis were supposed to have a date that day, and he has to cancel that date. So when Charlotte asks him what was the reason, he says he's going camping trip with prior friends, and Charlotte brings up Cleo, even though he said friends. So that means that Emma and Ricky are coming too. Lewis makes up a lie that the Satoris need his help with this camping trip. They really do. And that he had promised them months ago. Charlotte decides to use a manipulative gaslighting attempt to say that he also promised her a date. So because of that, he has to bring her too because she thinks that Cleo and Lewis being together on Mako Island means that they're going to be romantically close. So as Cleo, Emma, Ricky, her father, and her sister are coming on to Mako Island, getting set up at their tent, they find Lewis putting the tents up, and he brings the fact that Charlotte really wanted to come. Obviously, things have gotten worse. Cleo is pissed, rightfully so, and confronts Lewis, and Lewis says that he asked her not to come. And we're going to talk about that in the review. And he said that he's not here for her, he's here for them. And while Charlotte is pretending like she's fixing her tent, when in reality she's watching them, she calls Lewis' name, but he said he'll be there in just a second. And then she messes her tent up on purpose so that he would have to come help her. Cleo is upset about this. She does not want Charlotte there, and rightfully so. Charlotte can't be there. That's bad. So Ricky suggests that there's a way that they can make her leave. Kim is going out to get some firewood, and Cleo tries to make up this scary story to freak Kim out. It's not working. But this plan was to piss Charlotte off into wanting to go with Kim, thinking that Cleo was bullying her sister. When the two of them out getting firewood and Kim brings up the story that Cleo told, Charlotte told her not to worry about it. They're perfectly safe out there. And then they start hearing noises, which is Emma just making sounds. And then Cleo uses her new power, her aerokinesis, which caused a big giant gust of wind to blow at the two of them. And they get freaked out enough to where they run and go tell Dom. And he says that the noises could have been anything. Hell, it could have been a possum. And they both argued that the noises were not natural. And Charlotte said it was not a possum. But he tells them it could have been any normal thing. So as the girls are walking back their tent, Lewis realized it was them. He goes in the tent and tells them to just leave Charlotte alone, which I don't know the fuck why. Um, he's being dumb right now and a dumbass. So she decides Ricky to tell Lewis that he must be taking up for his girlfriend. He says no, he's there for them. He's just saying. So Emma, Ricky, and Cleo, all three say that they're here for each other and that everything is going to be all right. Well, while everybody sleep at the middle of the night except for Lewis because of Dom's snoring, Charlotte unzips his tent and asks if he wants to go walk with her somewhere. She says she can't sleep and said it must be the full moon because in Cleo's scary story, she said on the full moon, freaky things start happening. Well, Lewis tries the test that he really can't go, and she doesn't have to really convince him because Dom continues to snore and he decides to go instead. Now, this obviously freaks Kim out because she's all by herself and she goes running to get Cleo. She wakes Cleo up and tries to tell Cleo can she sleep in her tent. Cleo says no, that it's not actually it's not enough room in there for her. And she tries to get Kim to leave, and Kim brings up that Charlotte and Lewis are both gone because she went in there to go wake her dad up, but he was totally out of it. And she tries to, I guess, bait Cleo in a way, saying that the two of them are probably together, which, I mean, they're already dating Kim, so I'm guessing she doesn't know that. And Cleo says she doesn't care, and Kim says yes, she does, but I mean, she wouldn't have cared if you didn't tell her. She tries to get her out again, and this time Cleo ends up seeing the full moon and gets moonstruck. Kim tries to talk to Cleo, saying that she's just joking with her and that she's not falling for it again, but Cleo walks off all zombified. Lewis and Charlotte are sitting together, and Charlotte's talking about how romantic this is, and them at the island looking at the moon together, and they end up about kissing, and then Kim shows up where she reveals that Cleo has gone wandering off. She acted weird, and Lewis realized that Cleo had gotten moonstruck because Kim had woken her up. Charlie thinks that it's Cleo playing a prank on her, and she tells Lewis to like back her up. But Lewis said, maybe. But then she's like, I'll take Kim back to a tent, and then I'll be back. And Charlotte says to her back as soon as they can fit a discussion. He asks what discussion, and she's referring to them kissing. And he said, yeah, and then he leaves with Kim. Well, apparently he gets Kim back in her tent and he wakes up Ricky and Emma. Well, actually, no. They wake up on their own because Emma has to wake up Ricky when she realizes Cleo is gone. Lewis comes in and tells them what happened. Emma and Ricky decides to face the full moon because obviously hiding from it is not going to work and somebody needs to help Cleo and convince her to come back. Or something's going to happen. So they both decide to get moonstruck, and Lewis tries to stop them, but obviously they're gun-ho about this. And then when he tries to get them back in their tent after they do get controlled by the full moon, Ricky grabs him and tells him that he needs to go mind his girlfriend, meaning he needs to worry about Charlotte because she's technically an outsider, and last time they got moonstruck, Lewis was considered an outsider, and look what happened to him. So they leave. Charlotte hears noises, and it's actually Cleo. Cleo apparently has wandered into the same spot where Charlotte is, looking for the cave dwelling to go to the moon pool. Charlotte's throwing insults and taunts at her, saying that she's only doing this because of her and Lewis, and that scaring her sister is really pathetic. This coming from a bitch that's following a man that clearly does not want her and calling somebody else pathetic. Are you serious? So, she tries to get Cleo's attention, but Cleo is not registering with her because Cleo is not here. She's in La La Land. And she grabs Cleo and tells her, I'm talking to you. And Emma and Ricky did show up and they heard the whole thing. So Ricky decided to teach Charlotte a lesson. She causes a bolt of lightning to struck down close enough to where it could electrocute her. Thank God it didn't hit her. She should be thanking God for that. And it freaks Charlotte out to the point where she's scared. Cleo walks off and Charlotte ends up running into Lewis, and she says that Cleo was acting really weird and that this ball of light almost hit her. Lewis says he didn't hear anything, and Charlotte said he must have. This is where Ricky walks past them, and then Lewis decides to tell Charlotte that she should get back to her tent while he goes investigate what the noise is. Charlotte obviously is freaked out and does not go back to her tent. Lewis runs into Emma and Ricky, telling them to stop and get back to the camp. He is not listening to them when they tell him to get out of their way and leave them alone. Ricky holds up her hand where she is about to do to Lewis what they did at the beginning of this season. And it makes him stop dead in his tracks because they threaten him. Leave us alone. We go into the water calls. They walk off and he tells them to enjoy their swim. Obviously, he's a bit hurt by this, which I mean, of course he would. But what else did he expect to happen? He keeps getting in the way. Just let them do this. As long as you and Charlotte at the tent, nothing bad's gonna happen to nobody. So Charlotte ends up finding Cleo at the cave dwelling. I'll just be damned. And ends up seeing Cleo jump down it. When Charlotte goes up there to try to find Cleo, she falls down as well and ends up finding the moon pool. This is when the moon goes over the moon pool, and we find out that every time there's a full moon, the moon pool starts to activate. Every single time there's a full moon. Charlotte almost touches it, but Emma and Ricky, who had came up to the surface, not inside the moon pool, but like on the other part of it where she can't see them. So Emma ends up freezing the water after looking at Cleo and Ricky. And when she does, Charlotte touches it while it's frozen, which scares her half to death. And then when the moon passes over, Ricky ends up heating it up, melting the ice completely. Lewis was looking for Charlotte and he found a flashlight. He goes down into the dwelling where he finds her and asks her what she's doing. And Charlotte said that the water glowed and asked what's going on. They get back to the tent and it's already morning. How the hell they get out? And Charlotte's covered in a blanket, so I'm guessing they had to swim out. Emma and Ricky, by that point, had already left after the moon had passed over. Charlotte saying that Lewis doesn't believe her, and he tries to reassure her that she could have hit her head or something. This is when Dom wakes up and asks, did everybody get a good sleep? And Lewis said, absolutely not, because your damn snoring knocked out all kind of peace around a radius that I can't remember the exact number, but he was snoring very loud. Apparently, everybody else couldn't hear him but Lewis. So when he goes to check up on the girls, he finds out that they're not there, and he asks what's going on. And Charlotte says she would like to know that as well. Before Lewis can make up some type of explanation, the girls show up with cooked fish. Obviously, they caught the fish, and Ricky heated up herself. The girls somehow managed to not hurt anybody. And on top of that, they feel pretty proud of themselves that they had some self-control. Ricky says her specialty, and this is where Charlotte is lost for words because she does not know what happened. So she might as well just take what Leo was trying to tell them about that scary story to heart because that is the only way to make everything here make sense. So Cleo and them are pretty proud of themselves, and Kim says she's glad because she was starving because she didn't want to eat no tin spaghetti when her dad had suggested it. They get to Juice Net Cafe back from the camping trip, and the Cleo says they beat the power of the full moon and it probably will never be the same again. That is so true. We cannot wait. Just wait till season 3 because that is so true. And they felt, like I said, pretty proud. And Lewis had said that, he did it regardless of his help. They did it by themselves. And Ricky corrects him and says, "No, Lewis, we actually did it despite your help." And Charlotte then shows up because Cleo is wondering because something is bothering her. She said that Charlotte touched the ice the moment the full moon was activated. She wondered if she was a mermaid. So Lewis decides to handle it. So instead of just, I don't know, getting her hand wet, accidentally tripping and spinning on her, he instead is drinking his chocolate milk from a straw. And then he decides to pull the straw up and spit on her. And Cleo starts counting really, really fast, and I know a lot of people had questioned this in the comment section. I'm going to talk about that in the review as well. But Cleo didn't turn, after Cleo got through counting, Charlotte did not turn into a mermaid. I'm sorry. So, Charlotte tells Lewis to not be acting weird as well as she leaves, and Lewis goes sit back at the table after wiping his mouth, and they all start laughing because after he says that she's clear. And the episode ends there. So let's get into a review. Okay, let's talk about some quick things first. Let's talk about Lewis getting mad at Cleo when he told her, "I asked you not to come." I want to know what the fucking problem is. What do you mean you asked her not to come? What the hell do you expect her to do? Like, seriously. What you want them to say? Oh, you can stay over Emma's house. They gotta do is tell Emma's parents you don't want to go to the camping trip. Cleo tell her dad, I can't go to Mako Island camping. Why not, my daughter? Why can't you go? What excuse do you expect her to give? Lewis expecting Cleo to just tell her dad, "Oh, dad, I don't want to go. I'm gonna stay here with my friends instead." She already has been avoiding her family a lot of times since becoming a mermaid. This is the one time they can spend time as a family with her dad and her sister. If you haven't noticed, Lewis, her mother is no longer around. What sense would it make, reality-wise, for her to sit there and tell her dad, "I'm sorry, Dad, I don't want to go on this camping trip," with no other reason, with no explicit excuse to make sense why she can't go? You mad at her for what? She does not have a damn choice. Like I said, Lewis has codependency issues, and I'm finally glad his codependency issue got fixed in this episode. Because he realized the girls don't need him all the time. That he cannot expect them to come to him with every single little problem they got without trying to figure it out themselves. But apparently that doesn't stop people from being pissy with them about the situation. But I don't know why. Why is it so wrong for them to want some fucking independence? What is so wrong with them wanting to figure out things themselves? Lewis is not going to be affected by their secret. Lewis is not a merman. He does not understand. Lewis is a person that cannot take risks. He thinks that everything has to be a certain way and then there won't be no problems. Every other time they did the bullshit with the boarding up the full moon and trying to do things the right way, everything still went wrong. And it went wrong for things that were completely out of their control. When Emma first got controlled by the full moon, that was completely out of her control because they didn't even know about it yet. Then with Cleo, no one thought to board up all the windows in the house because then it would be suspicious. So of course she got moonstruck. And Ricky only got moonstruck because Lewis, lazy ass, slow self, wouldn't even get out the fucking door. And then the next time they got moonstruck, hell, Lewis didn't realize that he was looking at the damn map for fucking China's moon cycle, not America, not Australia's. Hell, I'm sorry, I'm about to say America. I forgot they from Australia. And hell, I don't know how he managed to fuck that up. How did you get China and Australia's moon cycle mixed the hell up? It was either China or Japan, but I'm pretty sure it was China. And I'm thinking to myself, you made this. And obviously they got moonstruck because he got it incorrect. Like, literally, this is the, what, second full moon? That's crazy. This is the second one. And we already 13 episodes in. Cleo does not have a choice. And the only reason why this time they got moonstruck is because Emma and Ricky chose to, because Cleo got moonstruck due to the fact that you brought Charlotte on this trip when you knew you had a date with her and you should have just let the girls figure it out. Kim could have had her own tent, the girls could have slept in their own tent, and Dom would have been his tent, and everybody would have been fine. It wouldn't have been an issue. If you had not came, you should have trusted them. You don't have no faith in them. You think that they're too damn useless or too irresponsible to try to figure out how to solve their own damn problems. And they're not. Because they've had times they try to solve their own problems. You won't let them. Let them. You know what? I'm glad that Ricky did say this though. No, it's not because Lewis did not help is how they figured it out. They figured it out even when Lewis tried to help. She acknowledges that Lewis was trying to help. They've always acknowledged that Lewis has tried to help. But they've always had it figured out, or the situation figured itself out with someone else's help, or at least some help from them, that it worked out for the better. She sits here and acknowledges that, no, Lewis, we beat the powers of the full moon despite your help. You tried to help us, it didn't work, so we figured it out ourselves. That's giving him his flowers for helping them, and that's giving them some fucking brownie points because they actually made it work, even when he was trying to help. So, really, everybody wins. So what's the big deal? At least she gave him his flowers. Now, let's talk about the situation with Charlotte. I know everybody in the comments talked about that. Why on earth did they sit there and do that to her in the public front of people? Like, that wasn't smart. Okay, I'm not trying to be a bitch to y'all. No, sometimes y'all might think I'm being a bitch to y'all, but yeah, here's the answer. Because if she was a mermaid, she would have reacted. She would have ran. They are fully aware that it is risky to get her wet in public. But it's literally common sense that she will leave the room if she was a mermaid. And if she was a mermaid, the first thing she would have done, which is what she did when she does eventually become a mermaid, call Lewis and tell him. Or at least freak out. You know? So it's not like she would have gotten exposed. They would have known. They would have jumped in after her, and then the whole thing would have came out. I kind of wish they actually made her a mermaid earlier than they did, because at least then they could have made it to where she eventually does turn on them when the power does go to her head, when she tries to compete with Cleo after they find their similarities to Gracie or something like that. Instead of just making her a mermaid, having her like pretend she wants to join the group for like one fucking episode, and then after that she starts turning on them immediately in the next episode, and she ain't even been a mermaid for like a fucking week. Because I think she was a mermaid for a day when she showed herself to Cleo. And she had just became one when she told Lewis. So it's like She wasn't even a mermaid that long for her for some reason to just want to turn on them. It's so dumb. Now, on the sense of basically Lewis's codependency, I feel like ever since Lewis found out the secret and the girls asked for him to help them figure out why Mako Island made them mermaids, Lewis has taken up this mantle because he generally believes that the only way for the girls to live a normal life is they have to abide by certain laws of physics instead of just figuring it out and dealing with the fact that that day is never going to happen. They're never going to be normal girls. They are literally fucking screwed for the rest of their days. So, in all honesty, I think that, yes, like I said in this episode, I think they fixed Lewis's codependency. He's no longer expecting the girls to be dependent on him, which is a good thing because we do see that he no longer needs them to depend on him after this. So things just happen, and then he just like he comes in and helps when he needs to. Until after Charlotte becomes a mermaid, and then like he literally is no help until they break up. So with that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have a blessed day. And no one say the day I'm telling you guys. I love you. I'll see you guys in the next one because you already know this is not the last time we're going to see each other again. So until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.